Final update, she was arrested and fired, by user @Sasquatch. Very much doubt anyone remembers this, but here's the link to the previous update if anyone happens to care. https://www.reddit.com/r/IDontWorkHereLady/s/bmp5pygyt4. Short version to catch people up, I was fired from a Walmart that I didn't work at by a power-tripping manager because I apparently looked like someone who worked there. The final update is that recently my family moved to a new neighborhood around the corner from the Walmart. After meeting the new neighbors, I find out one worked at this Walmart. I told her the story because I still think it's hilarious, and she let me know that manager, let's name her Gertrude, was arrested and fired. OL Gertie apparently had a history of arbitrarily banning people like she did to me, but nobody really ever complained, so nothing ever got done. She was just shifted from department to department. One day late last year she got a little too aggressive with an off-duty cop and tried to forcefully remove her from the store, which inevitably led to Gertrude punching the cop. She was arrested and finally fired. My neighbor and most of her co-workers have rejoiced. Karma can be a beautiful thing. He doesn't work here, lady, by user feedbitter502. A little backstory. A while back I came out as a trans woman, and everyone reacted as I expected, family, friends, and co-workers. But my co-workers seemed to be more defensive over people dead naming me than anyone else. And with the staff turnover, it meant that the core staff would always introduce me to new staff as my preferred name, rather than my birth name. And lately when new members see my legal birth name on the rota, they ask who that person is, which is what makes me laugh and reminds me of the following story. Cast, aliases used. Jack/Jill equals me. Grandma. Mike, the legend. Dylan, the cherry on top. So it's a mid-afternoon and I'm just in my room, possibly playing a game on my PC, not important, when I get a call from Grandma. I say hello and ask what's up. She seems like her normal peppy self, but it's clear she's a little bit shocked and appalled that so many people at work don't know who I am. I'm a little confused as to what she's talking about, so I agree with her and ask her to explain. She tells me that she went to visit me at work, but when asking the staff behind the register, they'd never heard of me. I told her that we do get a lot of new staff, and maybe they haven't met me yet. She then proceeds to place the last piece of this puzzle and tell me that she asked for Jack, but no one had heard of a Jack working there. At this point it all made sense and I covered the phone speaker while I head-butted my computer desk. I reiterated that they must have been new, and hadn't met me yet, then we ended the call and for once, I was looking forward to my next shift. I went in for my shift and casually said, so, I heard my grandma visited the other day, and this is what they told me. Grandma walked up to the register and asked newbie, who did actually know me, but as Jill, if Jack was in today. Newbie looked puzzled and told Grandma she doesn't know a Jack that works here. This was the first button pushed, that set Grandma off on a speech that put me up on a pedestal, like I was someone to be very lucky to know. Then Andy showed up to the counter and my grandma asked if he could tell her if Jack was in today. Andy also only knew me as Jill, and thus he had no clue how to help Grandma out. Second button pushed. Grandma set off depicting me as a biblical god, only a little bit of an exaggeration. But luckily Mike, knows me by both names, saw from behind the scenes what was going on, and quickly rushed around to the counter to explain that Jack was not in today. But also informed her that I go by Jill now. All buttons pushed. Grandma quickly silences Mike and informs him that nobody uses that nickname around her because she doesn't like it. I wish I knew what other things were said during this moment of the confrontation, but when I caught up with Dylan, he gave me the ending I didn't know I needed. The whole time this was happening, Dylan was on his break in the restaurant area. He watched it all go down as he ate his meal, but then suddenly Grandma turns around and walks towards him. Dylan thinks carefully about his next move. Grandma simply says to him, I can't believe nobody in this store knows my grandson Jack. Dylan only knows me as Jill, but by now he's pieced together the puzzle, and Dylan loves to light the fuse, so to speak. So with an internal grin as devious as the Grinch, Dylan simply replies, who's Jack? And with that, Grandma raises her arms, shakes her head in disbelief, then storms out of the store to go home and call me. We all had a good laugh. I do love my grandma, and I accepted that she will only ever see me as her grandson. But when she decides to go to my place of work, where everyone respects my life choices, and dead names me in front of staff that have only been introduced to me as Jill, I honestly don't know what she thought she would accomplish there. Also, before I came out as trans, my grandma would visit the restaurant every now and then because my shifts had me sleeping through the day, and working through the night, so it was the only way she'd get to see me on a busy week. But after that visit, she never came back to the restaurant again. And yet she still wonders why I don't visit her often? Just because I have a uniform on doesn't mean I work here, by user Buckrio. In 1986 I was in Washington, D.C. during the Memorial Day Remembrance as part of a color guard, 7th SFG. I looked good. After the ceremony I had the rest of the day free. My sister was coming into town and wanted to meet me, since I hadn't seen her in many years. I told her to meet me by the 3 servicemen statue at like 2 p.m. This was pre-cell phones, so you had to plan ahead. So the place was full of people visiting the nearby memorial wall. I was a little early, so I ambled over to the wall. This older woman grabbed me by the sleeve and wanted to know where her son's name was. I didn't really like being prodded, but asked what her son's name was, what year was he killed, etc. Since the names appear in order of death, he was killed in 1970, he was in the right-hand section. She was pretty insistent that I get a stencil of his name. Remember, this is Memorial Day, in DC at the wall, there was no way anybody was getting close to the wall without waiting for at least an hour. I really felt for her, she sacrificed her son for our country and she just wanted a stencil of his name. I told her I was supposed to meet my sister and that I needed to go because I was already late. She was crestfallen. I explained I was a tourist, but just happened to be in the army and in uniform and wasn't actually working there. I felt bad for her situation, but I really wanted to see my sister, and her husband, whom I hadn't seen in almost 4 years. I did find them, and surprised she was pregnant. She wanted to surprise me is why she was so insistent we meet. I've been working retail for so long I exude retail, by user waste reflection 235. Like the title says, I exude retail. I manage a store and practically live there, so I guess I just don't know how to turn off my work vibes or whatever. Or maybe I just have that face where people feel comfortable. Which is also odd cause my thinking face or on a mission face can be misconstrued as bitch face. Whatever. The point is no matter where I go, someone always approaches me with a question. Today I went to Kohl's to get some new shoes and a few pairs of pants for my kid. While I was looking around the kid section, a woman came up to me, shows me a picture on her phone and says, I know you don't work here, but do you know where this is? I've been going to this particular Kohl's for many years and pretty much know where everything is, so I just told her it's over by the junior miss or the women's section upstairs. She thanked me and went on her way. No biggie, but also funny how I can never get away from customers asking questions. An obvious you work here, by user 60950. At Amtrak, we conductors wore a uniform which consisted of dark blue pants, a long-sleeve button-up shirt with plain shoulders, or a t-shirt button-up shirt with epaulets, a tie, a hat, and an optional vest or jacket. If a passenger sees someone in that outfit, they'll know they're the boss. I worked with a guy I'll call Ryan, because his name is Ryan. Passengers would come up to him, ask him a question and he'd reply, "Oh, I don't work here." I never saw or heard that firsthand, but heard he'd done it a lot. Funny guy but horrible work ethic. Asterisk oops, can someone edit the title? Thanks.